about this morning. You get knowledge from college. Wisdom from God. Not college from knowledge and wisdom from God. You get wisdom from God, regardless of wherever you get the rest of it. Anyways, strong faith we're talking about tonight. This woman, this woman's constant issue of blood was a disaster. It left her anemic, weak, breathless, and hardly able to walk. Because she wasn't able to work because of this problem, she probably didn't have the money that she needed to buy the food that would nourish her and would compensate for the loss of strength. Also, she was ceremonially unclean because of her illness. Everything and everybody she touched would be considered unclean. The Bible talks about that in Leviticus chapter 15. Jesus made systematic journeys through the villages, and she knew that he was coming that direction. Going to be in that village, and when he did, she struggled through the crowd and touched the fringe of his robe and was instantly healed. She felt it, so did Jesus. Now comes the point of the story. He asked, "Who touched me?" Well, dozens had, hundreds had. Wherever Jesus was, there was a crowd. Then the woman came trembling and afraid. Why? Because she touched him and she knew that her defilement had defiled Jesus, or she thought that. Well, likewise, our defilement of sin defiles him, and he was made sin for us upon the cross. The Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21. All eyes were upon her. The whole crowd was quiet, entirely focused on the outcast, or what they considered was an outcast. A little scrap of unknown humanity. Her loneliness and illness had put all heaven in a frenzy, and God sent His Son for her at that very moment. I do believe that. Because everything with God happens for a reason. God sent Jesus right there for her for that moment. Then came Christ's verdict. The same one who will one day judge all nations and pronounce His verdict on mighty empires, the Lord, the maker of the heaven and the earth, paused for a moment and said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you." It wasn't the touch, nothing magical in the garment, the hem of His garment. It was her faith that healed her. If you remember several stories in the Bible, Jesus said, "It was your faith that healed you." Well, the same Jesus is now knocking at your door this evening. Anybody sick or in bondage, seize your opportunity. Jesus has come for you. There were several people in the service this morning. We had visitors. I went around and made sure that the ones that I saw, I hope you did that also. But there was visitors, and you can usually tell when tears are running down their face that they're under conviction. When you get to a point in the message when they just immediately look down and never look back up. Well, are they playing with their phone? No, it's a different look. Are they reading something? No, it's just, you know what? They know that they're in the presence of the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is bearing witness with their spirit, and they know that they need to do something. They don't necessarily know what to do. And I was thinking about that all day today. How do I make it any easier to people to get them to the altar and then explain it to them the way I try to do every Sunday? Come and lay your burdens at Jesus' feet. Come and get something that God has for you. People nowadays are very they want something tangible. They want to be able to grab hold of something. But they mentioned this morning, how many people Jesus said, there's you that have seen me and don't believe, but how many people have not seen me and do believe? They want something that they can put in their pocket. They want something that they can put on. They want something that they need. And what we need to do is, especially you that are Christians, while the altar call is going on, be in prayer for whoever may be in the service. You may not have seen him. You may not have shook your hand. You may not have gotten introduced to them, but every Sunday morning, there's usually about 4 or 5 people in the auditorium that tears are running down their face. They're trying to fight it back. They're grabbing a hold of the pew in front of them. They don't want to make a move, or they just don't know how to make a move or what to do. So, be in prayer. I was thinking about that all afternoon. I just kept going through my mind, what else can I do? Other than I'm not going to go down and grab them by the hand. We had a pastor in our church when we were growing up. If he saw you were in conviction, and you grabbed the pew, he would come down there, and you'd be standing there, and he said, come on, can't you just come in? And he'd pull him to the altar. And man, whenever he walked off the stage at the altar call, I hope somebody's going to get saved today. Whether they like it or not, they're going to get saved. Find Jesus today. And man, he'd take them down the aisle, and he would kneel down, and they would kneel down because he still got a hold of your hand. And then he would pray out loud, has his hand on the back of their head, saying, Lord, please forgive them of their ugly, disgusting sins. And it would embarrass people. That's the last thing I want to do. You say, why don't you ever call me to pray? During, at the service. Well, maybe I don't know that. I don't want to embarrass you. If I don't know that you want to pray, I'm not going to call you to pray. But I just want to, I was thinking about that this afternoon. There's got to be some way. And see, the thing is, I get their visitor slips, and I may go by their house, but see, they work during the day, or they work at night. And a lot of times I can't get them, and that's just the devil. A lot of times they'll see who's out there. Oh, that's a crazy man. Preacher, don't run into the door. Shut the lights off, shut the TV off, and be real quiet. And I've already walked up the door and I know everything's going on in the house. I can see people walking around, but when I knock on the door, and you know what? I'll sometimes put my finger over the people. Sometimes when I see their eyes, people will go like this. But you know what? The thing is, people, they want to do something, but they don't know exactly what to do. They want something. This lady needed some help. But she didn't know anything. She didn't know what to do. Why didn't, some people say, well, why didn't she just walk up to Jesus and say, I need your help? Well, because, she was scared just like you are. She didn't know how he was going to react. Plus, she was ceremonially unclean because of this issue of blood that she had. She wasn't, I can imagine when she came through the crowd, she snuck through the crowd, because if they would have noticed that she was there, they were probably part of the Red Sea, let them walk through. But they didn't even notice it. What did this woman do? What she did was she touched the hem of his garment. There in verse 43, and the woman having an issue of blood 12 years. 12 years. I imagine everybody in that whole town knew her. And had spent all of her living upon physicians' net, neither could any heal her. And she came behind him. She didn't come up that street. She came behind him, and she touched the border of his garment. And immediately, her issue of blood astonished. Remember the fellow that was sitting in the temple, sitting at the gate called Beautiful? And when Peter and James came, Peter and John came, Peter and somebody, I can't remember the other guy's name right off the top of my head. But anyways, when he reached down, and the guy was looking for something. They reached out and they touched his hand, and immediately he was healed. And there's been other cases in the Bible, in the New Testament, that immediately God took care. Well, you ask yourself, why doesn't God immediately heal me? Why doesn't God immediately give me what I want? Well, His timing is perfect, and He knows exactly where the end of your rope is. She touched Jesus. We're on number 1 there, Brother Marcus. When she touched Jesus, how long has it been since you touched Jesus? She did it in the crowd, probably so no one would know that she was there. She did it by faith. The Bible says in Romans chapter 5 and verse 1, therefore being justified by faith. Justified just as if you never sinned. And we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. How long has it been since you've been touched by Jesus? She did it expecting something. I imagine when she first crawled through the crowd, she said, man, I sure hope this works. I've tried everything else. I sure hope this works. Maybe somebody had told her. Maybe, I don't know how, but she probably heard Jesus was able to do this. Well, what do we do when we come to church? Do we come expecting something? There's a crowd. Some are Christians, some are not. Do we expect something? We should. We should expect something. Remember that I told the lame man that was at the gate, Acts chapter 3 and verse 5, and he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something from them. He was looking for something, like I said, tangible, something that he could grab a hold of, something he could see. And you know what? People that are unchurched, that haven't been to church, or don't know that much about church or about the Bible, they're expecting something tangible. That's why. And there's nothing against it. My aunt and uncle, they have a full gospel Foursquare church, and I'm telling you, they're shakers and movers. And when you go there, you feel something, because it's something. And you know what? We're not saved by the feeling, but you know what? That's why the charismatic movement is so forceful and it's so large, is because those people, they feel something. And that's what they want. They want something that, hey man, when I was in church, I felt something. But you know what? If you didn't receive Jesus, you just felt the crowd. Yeah. And that's it. But people that don't have any knowledge of the truth, don't have any knowledge of the Bible, they're wanting something. And when I say, you know what, Jesus wants to take care of you. Jesus wants what's best for you and your family. Jesus loves you. You know what, they like to hear that, but you know what do I get out of the deal? What do I get out of the deal? I had some, I've had people come to the altar and they pray, and I have somebody pray with them, and they lead them to Jesus, and and I go by and visit them after the fact, and say, you know what, I expected something to happen. And what did you expect to happen? I don't know. I was expecting electricity or be shocked or something. And I say, you know what, it's not the feeling that does it. It's your heart and it's your faith. And your heart's changed. And you know what? You say, well, that's silly. But you know what? If you've never been in church, you've never read the Bible, you've never had any experience with religion, so to speak, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what you should expect. You don't know what should happen. God has forgiven me of my sins now, but I still feel like a dirty rotten sinner. As I'm walking out of the church, I still feel the same, but I guess God forgave me. What do I do from here? This lady, she didn't know what was going to happen. The only difference between her and the people I was just talking about is she was immediately healed. Now you've heard people say they come to the altar, they got saved, they didn't drink after that, they didn't smoke after that, do any drugs after that, God delivered them. That's not always true. Somebody comes to get saved, they have a bad situation going on at the house. It don't always get fixed immediately. And you know what? Sometimes it takes a while to fix those things. She didn't know. She went to Jesus and she thought, you know what? I'm just going to do that. This is maybe my last resort. Maybe it was her first resort. I don't know what the thing was. She'd spent all her money. She had no money left on physicians and doctors. And you know what? They were practicing medicine. They're still practicing medicine. They haven't got it right. They're just practicing. And so therefore, she wasn't able to be healed. They weren't able to help her. All they did was take her money. Kind of like now. Oh, did I say it out loud? Yeah. But, the thing is this. Jesus can immediately take care of the situation. It seems like, in our life, it doesn't happen that way. But you know what? Our timing and God's timing is a little bit different. And one day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. There may be a situation in your life that's been going on for 12 years. It seems like forever. But it's not. And God knows exactly, I think it was last Sunday night, God knows exactly when you're at the end of your rope and you're down in the pit. Sometimes God allows you to lay flat on your back so you can try straight up to Him. Because you tried everything else, now you need to try Jesus. Anyways. Do you expect something when you come to church? I hope you do. Do we all touch Jesus? Do we let Him touch us? We should. Oh, I don't want to get too crazy here. I don't want to get too involved here. I'm here. That's about as far as I'm going. You know what? That's because we don't let Jesus touch us. I'm here, but oh, buddy, you're just asking way too much, man. I'm here, you know what? We don't let Jesus touch us. We're off limits. I'm here, that's it. We're selling a bus to Brother Joe. We have 3 buses. Pastor Long's idea was, because you're going to put so many miles on a bus, you know what? We're not doing that. We have 3 buses. We sell one, we still have 2. Somebody else can take that other bus. Now, I'm not trying to guilt you into doing it, But I'm saying, you know what? Sometimes we just don't let Jesus touch us. And you know what? By doing that, by saying, you know what? I would take that bus and I would start knocking doors, and I would, take that, we could split the city up or whatever the case is, and, north and south or whatever the case is, and Brother Glenn would be glad to do that. But you know what I'm saying? Sometimes we don't allow Jesus to touch us with a ministry that He wants us to do. Oh, that's not for me. I could never do that. You could. You could. Or my vision would like to have 2 teachers in every classroom. You say, well, I can never do that. Yeah, you could. You could if you let Jesus touch you. If you just let Him touch you, and there's always, you can talk to Brother Robert, he probably has a list in his mind of things that need to be fixed around the church, things that need to be taken care of. Brother Bob, what's his last name? Perigo, yeah, he comes and he mows the lawn, takes care of a lot of things, that you don't see. But we got a lot of things that could be taken care of. I got a light out in my office. I'm not trying to guilt you into it. I got a light out in my office. I tried to fix it. Me and electricity don't get along. It didn't work that well, and it's still out. But you know what we've done? We got things. These doors right here. We're gonna have I got guys coming next week, hopefully, to fix these doors. There's always something to do. But sometimes people won't let Jesus touch them, because in doing service for Him, you're able to get a blessing from Him. We talked about giving tithes this morning. I said 10% of your time. That's 17.8 hours a week. How many of us are at church 17.8 hours a week? Well, you know what? You don't have to be in church. You can be doing the service of God. You can be over here doing something for God. You're teaching a class, whatever the case is. But sometimes people just don't let Jesus touch them. I gotta get out of here going on number 2. I'm going to say this. Some come for the crowd. Some come for the singing. We should all come to find Jesus. And number 2, here we go. What was different about her touch? It wasn't necessarily her touch, it was her faith. What about her faith? Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. How much faith do you have? Well, you can't see faith. You don't have a meter of how much faith you have. You either have faith or you don't have faith. Or maybe you have some strong faith, but maybe you have some weak faith. Whatever, that's the way people kind of look at it. Faith is faith. She had some faith. Her faith was a secret faith. Closet faith. You ever heard of that? Matthew chapter 6 and verse 6. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut the door, pray to the Father which is in secret, and the Father which seeth in secret shall reward openly. Some of us are closet Christians. We sit down wherever we're reading that. Amen. You know what? And maybe her faith was secret. She didn't probably tell anybody. Nobody even knew she was there. She was in the presence of the very Son of God. The same God that we serve today. She was in the presence of the Son of God, and she was not perfect, neither did she have perfect faith, but none of us do. She had a strong faith that she thought, you know what, I have no other way, I have no other choice. I've got to try this. I've got to figure this out. It was her earnest faith, serious, intense, deep faith. She was on a mission. Nothing was going to stop her. She'd made up her mind. That's kind of how I am. You have to make my mind. Make up my mind. We're going to do this. We are going to do this. I don't stop to think that don't work. I heard that a long time ago. But you know what? When I get something in my mind, it's going to happen. We're going to do this. You know what? I push my glasses up. My wife says, why do you do that? Because this in here makes me feel like they're falling off my face. I know they're not, but they're just, anyway, that's why I do that. But when I cannot stand clutter, I cannot stand a mess. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. I want all of you to go through this room after church is over. Sister Tony went through that room and took care of all that mess. And every time I walked in there, I'm thinking, oh, one of these days, I'm going to come here and throw everything away. We're going to start fresh. You know what? Let me tell you something. Let me say this. I'm not going to may offend you, may hurt your feelings, but anyways, I'm going to say it. If you get something new, don't bring your junk down to the church. The church don't need your junk. If you buy a brand new chair, bring a brand new chair down to the church and buy you another chair next month. Don't bring your junk down here. We got rooms full of junk. We got 3 sheds that have junk in them. They need to go away. We got all up our mess because we got such a mess in there.
Yeah.
That just drove me crazy. You know, that just drives me nuts. There's a place in my room for everything. Isn't there? Back me up here, sis. There's a place for everything. This does not belong here, it belongs right there. Don't move it. It's got a spot for it. You know what? And the thing in I have problems with my shoes have a space to go to. And up until this weekend when she got some of the junk or stuff out of that spot, now my shoes have room to breathe. Thank you, Lord, we have been delivered. Finally, I got a regular closet. My clothes are able to breathe. I'm telling you, they need to breathe. I couldn't believe how many clothes we had in a small little closet, and we filled up the whole walk-in closet with the other. Where did these clothes come from? They were in the closet. I didn't even know I had that jacket. Where did those pants come from? Where are them shoes been? I can't. They were in that closet, one little small closet that you know has a regular side door on it. You walk in, you turn this way, and you got about a foot, and turn this way, you got about a foot. Now I've got like 7, 8 feet. But you know what? I can't stand it when things are just in disarray. When things are not where they need to be. You know what? This lady, her life is in disarray. This wasn't where she wanted to be. She probably got to the point where she said in her mind, maybe out loud, I cannot any longer go walking, do this. This is driving me crazy. They noticed, you know what, it wasn't the way, it isn't the way that we are sometimes, but it is the way that sometimes we are. Sometimes we get to a point in our life where, you know what, we get ourselves in a jam to where we don't know how to get out of it. And it may not, I'm not talking about the cops beating down your front door. I'm just saying, you know, in a spiritual sense. We sometimes get ourselves in a spot where we don't know what to do to get back to where we need to be. They notice, you know, the Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14, but the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness in him, neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. The people in the crowd didn't know what had happened. They didn't know what had happened. They noticed no difference in their attitude because, you know, they were all tied up in themselves. Me, my wife, my son John, his wife, us 4 no more, that's it. A lot of times that's how it is. They were tied up. There was no one, you know, there was only one contact with the body and not with the Spirit. John tells us in John chapter 3, verse 3, Jesus answered and said, Verily, verily, I say to you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. That's not just a contact with the body, that's a contact with the Spirit. We have to be born again. Her contact was her heart, was with her heart and her soul. That's all that she had in her. And with all that she had in her. The Bible tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 5, And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy might. Hers was a living act of trust in Jesus and love for all that he stood for. To human eyes, there was no difference after her touch. The physical impairment, no one could see it. It had been healed. That's how the world is. When their heart is not changed, then you know they haven't been with Jesus. When you've been with Jesus, something happens. No Jesus, no peace. No Jesus, no peace. Just kind of a play on words, but that's the truth. If there's no Jesus, there's no peace. Jesus said, somebody touched me. The disciples thought, wow, you've got to be kidding me. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's not what I would have thought. Her heart and body had been changed. While there was probably some pushing and shoving, he said, somebody has touched me. The world is going crazy, but Jesus is waiting. People are pushing and shoving, hollering and crying and screaming. They want something, but they don't know what they want. They don't know what it is that they need. They have empty hearts. There's lonely people. They need a touch from Jesus. Well, number 4. What was the test to distinguish one touch from another? It was her faith. It was faith on her part. Jesus said, I feel the power of healing going out of me. When we touch Jesus and He touches us, the power of a living God that is in us takes place. You understand that? When we touch Jesus and He touches us, that is the living God touching you and healing you or taking care of the situation that you're in. That is what we need. Notice something here. There was no healing without faith and the will of God. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 8. For this thing I besought thee thrice, that it might depart from me. This is Paul talking here. But he said unto me, God said unto him, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in thy weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I rather glory in my infirmities. Paul's saying this, that the power of Christ may be upon me.
Right.
He said, you know what? I've got this problem, whatever it was. We don't really know what it was. But he said, I've asked you 3 times, and God told me, you know what? My grace is sufficient. I know that you have that problem. And you know what? Right now, you know what that is? Maybe keeping you strong and keeping you where you need to be. You know, we're just bumping along through life and everything's going good, you know, no big deal. But you know what? When something happens, when the rubber hits the road and we need to talk to God, that's what Paul was doing. Okay, what can we learn from this? We have to touch Jesus and He has to touch us. If we don't touch Jesus and He doesn't touch us, there is no power. To be a soul winner, to be a witness, Acts chapter 1 verse 8 says this, and ye shall receive power after the Holy Ghost come upon you, that ye shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and other parts of the earth. If you are not able to witness, it may be because you don't have the power. Maybe I should say that again. If you're not able to witness, maybe it's because you don't have the power that God can give you. And when Jesus left, the Holy Spirit came and they had the power. If you need to touch Jesus and He needs to touch you, we need to make that happen. Yes, we get saved. Yes, we can be healed. You know, remember what John F. K. said, now ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country. Ask not what the Lord can do for you, but consider what can you do for the Lord.
Right.
Inward, act of faith. She went to Him, she moved, she acted upon her faith, and something happened. Number 5, and we're almost done. We have to go, we have to be willing to be used. If you're not willing to be used, God won't use you. If you say, I can't, and my dad used to say, I can't, and we could do nothing. And that's true. We need to be willing to do something. I don't know, Brother Tyner, that was his daughter and his son-in-law that was here this morning. And there was another girl named Julie over here. I don't know who invited her. Who invited her. I want to introduce myself. But you know what? Everyone, and it's maybe a cliche, everyone could bring one. Everyone could invite. You know, the easiest way to witness somebody is just invite them to church. Let the Holy Spirit take them from there. Remember, there were a lot of people touching Him, but they didn't have any faith. They were just there for the show. And you know what? We can put on programs, and we can have, big time, big world-renowned singers come, and man, we could pack the house. We'd have them out in the foyer, we'd have them out in the yard. But you know what? That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to touch Jesus and allow them, and for them to allow Jesus to touch them. Many were there to be entertained, and they didn't really come for anything. Are we going to be a soul winner that Jesus can use? Are we going to be a teacher that You know what? Don't ever take it for granted. There may be somebody in your class that needs Jesus. And you may be the only person that can lead them to Jesus. You may be the only Jesus that they know. Don't ever take that for granted. Billy Sunday was young one day. Billy Graham was young one day. You know, there were all of us, you know, we were all over there. And you know what? I know if not everybody in here, most of you, if not all of you, would say, if I would have gotten saved sooner, how much more could I have done for Christ? If I had got serious about my salvation sooner, how much more could I have impacted Jesus, and how much more could I have impacted this town for Jesus? Most of us would say that, huh? I wish I had done something sooner. If I only knew then what I know now, man, I would have did something sooner. Everybody wants to do the Lord's will, but unless He touches you, and we allow Him to touch us, we're not going to receive the power. Why are some Christians full of life and busy while others seem like other life seems they think that they feel dull and empty? Lack of touch. I honestly believe that. That's the only answer I have. If you intend on seeing this church grow, we need the power that only God has and only God can give us. And you know what? I'm just one guy. I'm not Billy Graham. I'm not Joel Osteen. I don't have near enough hair for Joel. I don't blink enough either. But you know what? You ever notice that? Man, this guy needs some Visine or something. This guy doesn't fit. But you know the thing? I can't do it all by myself. You know, Brother Bob Shockey or Brother Richard Adams said, you know what? It's one pole, one line, one hook, one bait, one chance to catch a fish. Just think if we had a trout line, how many chances you get to catch a fish? God wants to empower you, but for some reason or another, maybe you've resisted the power. You say, well, that's not me, Pastor. I know. Okay, maybe it's not you. But I know sometimes if we just go through the motions, then you know all we're doing is going through the motions. Sunday morning we're going to be in church. Sunday night we're going to be in church. Wednesday night we're going to be in church. We just go through the motions. And you know what? Sometimes the power dulls out. It doesn't go away. Sometimes it gets kind of dull. The fire kind of, if you don't keep putting wood on the fire tends to go out. And that's what I don't want to happen. I want all of us to have a strong faith that we can serve God regardless. Well, in conclusion, my question to you is this. Are you touching Jesus this evening? Is Jesus touching you? You may have been thinking, Pastor, how do I know I don't know what you're talking about. How do I touch Jesus and how does He touch me? Just surrender your all to Him. All of you to Him. 100% I'm going to give it to God. Give Him all of you and feel His presence and His leadership and His direction in your life. Come to Him desiring to touch Him. Touch Him in faith, and He will be touching you. His power will come upon you, not like a jacket, but will come upon you inside of you. And if you don't want the power of Almighty God tonight, then you're saying, I don't want Him to touch me. I'm fine the way I am. Then you know what you're doing? Like I said this morning, you're sitting on the stool doing nothing, thinking, I shall not be moved. I want the power of God to rest upon you. I would love to, when I get to heaven, God would say, you know what? I'm glad that you did what you were doing. I'm glad that you took the bull by the horns. I'm glad that you allowed Jesus to touch you. And there'll be some of that line, they're walking in heaven, and they may not be near as excited because they knew that they could have done something a little bit more for Jesus. time. I'm telling you, the best feeling you ever have in your entire life is when you're able to lead somebody to Jesus. I'm telling you. When that person looks in your eyes and says, thank you. Man, I feel, I'm so glad. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say, how to do it. You say, well, that's silly, but you know what? That's life. Before you got involved in church, before you came to Central Class, you never knew anything about Jesus. I told you, I meet people all the time that's never been in church for any reason. They need the touch of Jesus. Let's stand together. Brother Doug, go ahead.